I'm Chloe, and I'm the brains.
I'm David, and I'm the Brawn.
I'm William, and I'm the Brew.
And together, we are the brains, Brawn, and Brew.
Throughout the course of the semester, we've tried countless roasts and countless brews. Some were good, some were not, but it all came down to this final competition. With everything on the line, we turned to two best friends, the Indonesian bean and the Brazilian bean. Each has its strengths, but we needed them to be in harmony.
So we tried to brew each to its fullest potential. Our Indonesian beans spent 9 minutes in the roaster, 2 minutes at fan 9 with power 4, 2 minutes at fan 8 with power 5, 2 minutes at fan 7 with power 6, and 1 minute at fan 6 with power 6. On the other hand, our Brazilian beans were less picky. They spent 5 minutes in the roaster at fan level 6 and power level 5.
We also had to consider how the beans brewed best. The Indonesian beans have a tea-like quality that conflicts with the body from fats, so they did best through a paper filter. The Brazilian beans, however, have sweet, chocolatey flavors that only get strengthened with the preservation of fats from the bean, so we decided to filter their brew through metal.
This added a challenge of having to do 4 different brews at once, which added a lot of math. Through the process, we had to consider where we might lose water, like in steam or absorption, and with a liter quota to meet, accuracy was key. With 90 grams of ground coffee being used, that was over a tenth of our water input being lost. Plus, we had to consider energy with our complicated processes. 2 different roasts meant 2 different energy sinks, especially with our longer roast on the Indonesian beans. Ultimately, it came down to accepting our energy accumulation and trusting the process to bring our flavor out on top.
To get a better idea of our calculations and our mass flow, we had to make 3 process flow diagrams, the first of which is a roaster diagram. This diagram tended to be pretty generic across beans. We put 110 grams of green beans into the roaster, and after roasting, we usually came out with just above 90 grams of roasted beans. This mass loss can be attributed to the loss of volatile gases and chaff. The roaster section usually took just above 0.15 kilowatt hours, but for the sake of competition, we divided that per gram of beans used for the competition. Our next process flow diagram uses a French press. This is where we utilized our Brazilian beans and had a greater grind size, so our rate of absorption is higher here. It tended to be about 2.2. Therefore, we expected to see a higher level of water loss here and used 594 grams of water. We also ran that through 49.5 grams of Brazilian beans. This yielded a brew that was just over 470 grams. The loss of water, as I said, can be attributed to the absorption ratio, as well as a slight amount of evaporation, creating steam. There was also, we estimated, 110 grams of water lost to absorption, meaning that our spent grounds came out to about 160 grams. That steam is near negligible because the French press is a closed environment, so once we put the lid on, we were not losing water due to steam. The final flow diagram we created was for the clever dripper, where our Indonesian beans were going to be brewed. Because the grind size for the clever dripper is coarser, we were able to use less grams of beans and less grams of water. We used 39 grams of roasted ground beans, 586 grams of H2O, and came out with about 460 grams of brewed coffee. This means that we lost about 126 grams of water in the grounds. Because it is a finer grind size than the Brazilian beans, the rate of absorption is going to be higher here. There was also a small portion lost to steam, similar to the situation with the French press. The clever dripper is also a closed environment.
On competition day, though, disaster struck. All of the practice we did went out the window, and we came up short on our brew volume. In an attempt to mitigate the energy penalty, we added water and lost all of the qualities that we once loved in our brew. The citrus notes, bright acidity, and full body. After a lot of blind tasting and a lot of slurping, the results came out and we were on the bottom for the first time.
It was definitely a miss, and it will haunt us forever, but we learned a lot. Looking back to our success in the mock competition, we remember that brewing coffee should be a relaxing, therapeutic process. When we can focus on brewing what we love instead of what other people are looking for, we pick our cup over others any day. In a future hypothetical competition, we would focus on the little caffeinated voice in the back of our heads, making our brew how we always have and not letting the pressure of the day get to us.